Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is FBC Radio Live. We're here Thursday, January 4th. No football on tonight, John, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I think we've talked many times before in the past about how we'd be fine with doing away with Thursday night football, but nonetheless, none today and this weekend, John. It looks like it's going to be chock full of a bunch of backup quarterbacks. I'm talking about, in some cases, backups to the backups because, well, as we know, a lot of backup quarterbacks have been starting a majority of the season this year.
Yeah, without question. I mean, Cleveland has gotten to the point where they've started 4 different quarterbacks leading up to week 18, and they're going to have their 5th different starting quarterback in week 18, and they're 11-5, and then going to be the number 5 seed in the AFC. So, yeah, we've seen so many quarterbacks this year. Pretty much, I believe it's 59 different starting quarterbacks this year. That number is going to grow on Saturday and Sunday because you've got teams that are just kind of in a position where they can't get better or worse by doing anything on Saturday or Sunday. So you've got, obviously, Baltimore the 1 seed, Kansas City the 3 seed, and Cleveland the 5 seed, respectively, in the AFC. So why bother playing? Although I think it could be dangerous for Baltimore because, they've already got a built-in bye. Mm-hmm. They're not playing in Wild Card weekend, so they don't play this weekend. They have a week off, and they don't play again until the 20th or 21st. That's a pretty long layoff, and we saw that affect them, 4 years ago when they were the number 1 seed and came out flat against Tennessee and lost in the divisional round.
Well, and look, there's a lot of pressure on Baltimore, Lamar Jackson in particular, especially, right now it looks like he's the favorite for MVP, and based on how everyone's sitting, it's kind of, it doesn't seem like it's going to change. I can't imagine it would change. Although I do find it odd, or not odd. I don't want to think that it's, because look, I picked Lamar Jackson before the season, so I'm okay with him being the MVP. Makes me look smart, look smart. Doesn't mean I actually am smart. But I am surprised that people are just kind of poo-pooing Josh Allen. And I know we've been harsh on him before, but relative to the competition or that we've seen this year in terms of, quarterbacks and everything like that, I mean, I think he has as good of a case as any. Doesn't mean I think he should win, but I'm surprised that people are just dismissing him altogether. It just, to me, it's puzzling because I do think, of the guy, if you want to sit there and talk about, well, which quarterbacks do the most heavy lifting in this league, I think it's very easily Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
They're their team's best
running back
as well. Yeah, I mean, they essentially are. They're the running game. And whatever they get from other players kind of comes from those guys being so dangerous as runners in different styles, obviously. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's had an up-and-down year like he normally does because he's going to have 4 or 5 games in a given year where you're like,
the turnovers, obviously,
kind of how to play quarterback. Yeah, the proverbial floor is really low, the ceiling's really high. If he can ever clean that up, then we are talking about a future MVP, all-pro type quarterback without question. The thing is, they haven't even clinched a playoff spot. If they lose to Miami and Pittsburgh wins, they may not even make the playoffs. So you're not going to see really a true MVP candidate come from a non-playoff team. They're 10-6. Look, this is Lamar's award at this point. He's not going to play Sunday. He can't do any damage to himself. And unless someone goes out there, I mean, unless Josh Allen wins 52-49 and throws, 6 touchdown passes and runs for 1, I can't see anybody surpassing what Lamar's done this year. I think a little pushback with Lamar is that he only has 24 touchdown passes, which, in this day and age isn't that high of a number, but, he's run in for 7 touchdowns. And obviously his offense is built a little bit differently than him just, getting those 1 and 2 yard touchdown passes. They run it in.
And exactly. And that's the thing that a lot of people are overlooking in this whole thing. Oh, he only has X. Oh, it doesn't really matter. And that's why like touchdown totals, like, it's, look, Brady was a victim of that too. When they'd get down, well, I mean, how many times were they calling? I mean, they would, obviously, I'm not saying they never did, but how often were they throwing a lot down there? No, not as often as you would think because, well, guess what? Prime example, John, the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. Obviously, Tom Brady did not throw a touchdown pass in overtime. It was a Rex Burkhead rushing touchdown. Sorry to bring that up, Braden. I know you're watching. But he was 5 for 5 or 5 for 6 passing to get them to that point. So does that mean because he didn't throw the touchdown, it was somehow a lesser of an impact? No. And unfortunately, we don't have time to go and go through every single play and say, well, no, this, and this. And quite frankly, fans aren't going to do that. So you're going to get a lot of the surface level analysis and sort of reaction. So people are like, oh, well, look at his stat line. Or I've seen a lot of people putting up his stat line side by side with Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, again, there's a lot of context.
Who are these people, though?
Well, Chiefs fans.
Well, I mean, this
again,
is from
sorry,
5
Braden.
years ago. Yeah, that I get it, but I mean, just
like Chiefs and Steelers fans, obviously they hate the
Brady
Ravens.
v. Mahomes again for the 400th straight day. But the thing is oftentimes, and he did that in the Super Bowl too against the Rams. Wasn't he 4 for 4 in the game-winning drive, and then they gave it to Sony Michel to get
right, exactly.
But I'm sure other quarterbacks have done that too. I don't think he's the only one that's done that.
No, and I think when we're talking about this particular season in a vacuum, that's hurt Lamar in terms of the overall. Trust me, I'm reading in the comments, and Kyle says Braden's catching some strays here, and I trust me, I did not. This was not my intention. I am not. If anyone's seen some of the Cat Williams clips over the last couple of days, I am not Chris Tuckering him. I'm not hitting him with strays. It just happens that this is a good example of part of the conversation. And to your point about that Rams game, he threw, and I go back and forth about this all the time. He throws a pass to the 2-yard line to Rob Gronkowski, and people are like, "Oh, he didn't even throw a touchdown, or he didn't even do this." I'm like, trust me, if he would have thrown that 2 yards deeper, so Rob Gronkowski, if he caught it, falls into the end zone, that ball is getting picked off by the safety. So it's like, again, it was the right throw. It was a great throw, but it didn't go for a touchdown, so it didn't count, quote unquote. But again, Lamar Jackson's kind of falling victim to that a little bit. Short rushing touchdowns. It shouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, I think we should all understand that. Yeah, stats lie. I mean, I know people. There's some cliche or some saying out there that say stats don't. No, stats lie all the time. Like, you can manipulate stats. It's like what is that Stretch Armstrong thing? You twist and turn, or something like Play-Doh. You can twist and turn stats however you want to make them work for you, and you can do it. Lamar Jackson has a great case to be the MVP, and quite frankly, to your point, like it would have to take like the greatest individual regular season game of all time by Josh Allen to surpass him in this case. And like I said, even that might not be good enough.
Or Tyreek Hill goes out and catches 4 touchdown passes, 216 yards. And again, that would prop up Tua. Obviously, he's the guy throwing the football. But yeah, for the secondary candidates, they'd have to have like an incredible day, which put them into the postseason, or made them the number 2 seed in the case of Buffalo, Miami. Whoever wins that will become the 2 seed in the AFC. Yeah, that might vault them into contention, but I think people have made up their mind that Lamar is the MVP. What he's done the last 2 weeks, if it was close before that, he's just lapped the field with his performance against San Francisco and his performance against Miami in huge games. I mean, at that point, we were all in on Baltimore being a top team, but what they did to San Francisco and Miami back-to-back was the most impressive 2-game stretch of any team this year, right? Not to mention earlier home games against Detroit and Seattle. Detroit's the NFC North champs. Seattle still has a chance to sneak in the playoffs, and they just absolutely destroyed those teams. I mean, look at Baltimore's record against teams with winning records.
It's like the opposite of Miami.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I believe 7-1 against teams with winning records. They play in the toughest division, right? Every team in that division is at 500 or better right now. I mean, he's, to me, the MVP. And again, we'll see before the MVP next week at this time, the All-Pro teams come out, so he'll be first-team All-Pro. Brock Purdy will probably be second-team All-Pro. But to see what those numbers are will kind of give you an indication of how close the MVP race is going to be. I don't think he's going to be unanimous like he was back in 2019.
Well, I mean, can you be now because the voting system's different?
Well, it's all by first place votes. So if you get all the first place votes, then you're
I guess you're right.
But I think, I get your point though, because now you can kind of give a little bit more of a level of value on these votes, right? Like, I hope Trent Williams gets a 5th place vote from somebody just to kind of shake it up. Just to prove my
You're gonna
point.
get that like
that
framed
guy,
and hanging on your wall. Trent
absolutely,
Williams got an MVP vote in
absolutely.
2023.
Yep. The hell with that, thing, owning a stock in the Green Bay Packers. This would be much more valuable.
I was going to say, what's more worthless, that or the Trent Williams thing? I don't know. I mean, it's a good thing.
Probably a tie.
Yeah.
But hopefully someone throws him in there, or somebody on defense, like Micah Parsons or whoever.
Well, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure there's going to be some defensive guys that get some votes.
Sure.
Maybe not first place votes, but certainly they're going to get votes. I mean, you can't, especially a season like this, you're going to see Tyreek Hill probably still get a few votes.
Yeah.
Especially since look, the Bills and Dolphins game, they're playing for something. A lot of teams. Patrick Mahomes is sitting this week. Lamar Jackson's sitting. Brock Purdy's sitting. Joe Flacco is sitting. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks are taking a seat this weekend. So it's like, you're going to get a lot of kind of goofy, weird looking games. So it'll be like the real fourth preseason game, which begs the question: why do we really need the 18th game anyways? But whatever.
How do you bet this weekend? You literally have to watch what happens at 1 o'clock to bet your 425, which is always a good idea. But how do you, the Jets Patriots, what are they playing for other than might be Bill Belichick's last game as Patriots head coach? Everyone seems to think it's a lock that the Patriots are going to destroy the Jets. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there's a lot of these games that man, look at that line. Dallas is 13.5 at Washington, and that makes sense because if Dallas wins, they're the NFC East champs and most likely the 2 seed, or they will be the 2 seed in the NFC. So they have everything to play for at that point.
Yeah, and look, I mean, at this rate, since there hasn't been a repeat champion in the NFC East, it might be a good bet to say that they will do that.
That's crazy. That's a crazy bet. And then you're going back to 2004, and there've been a lot of good teams outside of Washington in the NFC East, right? Dallas is very competitive.
They've all had their moments. Dallas has been really good at time, regular season team, of course. The Eagles obviously been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1 in the last 5 years or 6 years now. So yeah, it is. It's interesting, but it kind of, I don't know. That's why each division has its own flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
The AFC North is like the remnants of old school football, not necessarily ground and pound, but kind of the hard nosed smash mouth type football.
Mm-hmm.
All these defenses are tough, and it's kind of, it's funny how it kind of works out that way, and it makes for interesting, certainly in both those divisions, interesting divisional races. So, but you mentioned the All Pro team. Actually, I'm going to add a third option to our what's more worthless: the stock in the Green Bay Packers, the plaque that you're going to get of Trent Williams MVP vote, or the Pro Bowl, John. Look, I think everyone understands it's really a joke now. It's so silly and I just wish they'd get rid of it. I understand. Look, I understand why it's there, and I know players are still obviously wanting to be a quote unquote Pro Bowler, and it looks good on resumes and stuff like that. When you talk about, I went to the Pro, or I was a X-time Pro Bowler, this, that, and the other. They don't even play it's done. It's over. We have Buda Baker going over Antoine Winfield, and he literally has a 0 stat line. Any sort of meaningful stat for a safety, he has none. It's actually impressive, John. And you look at and you watch Antoine Winfield play, and it's the guy is, you can make an argument, one of the best, if not the best safety, certainly in the NFC. So, it's and your, I don't want to say your Packers, but your team that you formerly followed, that guy, plays for the Jets now, goes on that Pat McAfee show, says some things. But the Packers had 0 Pro Bowlers. 0, John.
I'm wondering if they deserved any, but yeah, maybe they. I'm trying to think who they would have deserved. Jordan Love actually had a sneaky good year. I don't think he was quite a Pro Bowler, but
I think he was 3rd in the league in touchdown passes, John.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good year.
He had
a lot of credit.
Look, for when you're talking about 3 quarterbacks from each conference, yeah. And look, again, sorry, once again, it just happens to be the circumstance, but Patrick Mahomes making the Pro Bowl over guys like C.J. Stroud or even Josh Allen and stuff like that. I mean, we understand it's a fan voting thing, you know. So there's a lot of, you know, let's vote them in and that type of thing, and that influences it. But I mean, what they play dodgeball now, and you know, it's like I don't care. It's stupid. You know what I mean?
It's used obviously for Hall of Fame voters. There's obviously bonuses. You make a Pro Bowl, there's $100,000 bonus.
Right.
Players kind of take that seriously. Yeah, the game is you know, obsolete at this point. Like, no one goes to it of any note. Yeah, and it's a popularity contest. Patrick Mahomes is the most popular player in the league, so he's going to win the fan vote, and he goes to the Pro Bowl. He had a Pro Bowl caliber season, not necessarily, but again, most popular player in the league. Yeah, so it's used more for that than anything. And then the All-Pro teams are the ones that you kind of really sink your teeth in, because those are the same people that vote for MVP. So they're supposed to be people that really follow the sport and aren't afraid to, you know, make
one of those guys is Emmanuel Acho, by the way.
Yeah, true.
So
well, he did play though. At least he has.
Did he?
Some idea what's going on out there. I think he did. I think he was in the NFL for a while.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he wore a jersey, but you know,
yeah, that's good. Those guys tend to know a lot, because the best players don't tend to be the best analysts. I mean,
look, I am not subscribing to that point of view anymore. I've seen come on, I'm not.
Oh, you're just doing that because Brady's going to be the booth next year.
I'm advocating for people that are on TV that don't necessarily know what the hell they're talking about. I'm not I'm not giving them credit for just being players. Like, trust me. Actually, the more we learn, it's almost like sometimes the players are the worst people to analyze games. Well, it's like I said.
Greg Cosell to me is the best guy in terms of breaking down film. Greg Cosell, who never played, and he's not Howard Cosell's son. People keep saying that Howard Cosell's son is no relation, just same last name. He's outstanding at doing that stuff, but he's been doing it for like 45 years, and he learned it from coaches and et cetera.
Right.
He kind of gets that. Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's that's why it's like these. Sometimes it feels like, you know, Pro Bowls meant a little bit more in the past. Like, I think it was more of a legitimate honor. Not to say that it isn't now. And again, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of other factors that go into still having the Pro Bowl vote or whatnot. But you know, none of the marquee players ever necessarily go. The Super Bowl teams obviously will not. You will not see them there. There was kind of something cool about having the game after the Super Bowl. You know, when like, you know, I mean, the last time we saw like Brady and I mean, it was like 05 or 04 after that season. You know, they're at the game. The Patriots are just coming off the Super Bowl. You know, you got those classic blue and white and red and white jerseys and all that stuff, and everything's all good and whatnot. And you know, Sean Taylor's taking punters out. You know, that those were the days, John. Those were the days. They are long gone now, and I don't even necessarily think, even when we had the game being played, it's not even the collection of the best. I mean, that's the thing too. Pro Bowl, and I'm with Kyle. You said earlier, all these all-star games, and we talk about them every time they come up. They're kind of pointless and stupid and dumb. I'm just over them all. I don't watch any of them. I mean, the home run derby, I
like the NBA one, because I'm a basketball guy, and again, when you assemble that type of talent on the court, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, but
no one plays defense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's not a real game.
That's not appealing to me. You know, that's just, I'm like, okay, I get it. These guys are all great, and if they just had free run of the court, of course they're going to score 90% of the time. You know, like, I'm okay with that. Like the hockey skill competition, you know, that's fun if you really love hockey, because you know it can give, like, you know, a glimpse into a player's ability and natural ability and stuff like that. But same thing with hockey. There's no physicality or defense, so it's basically like a beer league game, you know, on Sunday morning, where like half the guys are hungover and no one gives a bleep. So, you know, it's like, okay, I get it. You make an event out of it. You know, you maybe bring some revenue to the city that's hosting it, if you're the NHL, or if you're, you know, the NFL. It's like one of the one of the I mean, the NFL has been pretty good about making decisions about the game. You know, the ideas are pretty good. I mean, a lot of them are money motivated, obviously. You know, it is what it is. Doesn't mean that they're bad ideas, but taking the Pro Bowl out of Hawaii and just bringing it to Orlando, like nondescript Orlando, you know, like I understand Disney, all that stuff, ESPN, blah 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 blah. That was silly. Like at least like Hawaii, there was some. It was different, you know. It was something different.
That's a cool trip.
Yeah, it's a cool trip. There's the backdrop of being on the island. And again, I mean, this was happening when they actually still played the game, and now playing dodgeball.
I would just have it at the site. I would have it at the site of the Super Bowl, like the following week. I know I used to like it better when it was the week after, because if you were on the Super Bowl winning team, you come in and you're bragging. Like, that was always cool. Like, hey, we won the Super Bowl. You didn't.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
could have that type of thing going on, right? The quarterbacks could kind of get at each other and good-natured, or maybe not good-natured fun. But yeah, I would do that and have it in the same city as the Super Bowl. You kind of have like a carryover. Maybe you get even more coverage, and you start. Although now you're going to start having coaches getting fired. And there's a lot going on to that. But I mean, baseball is probably the closest in terms of the way the game is played. It's still pitcher versus hitter. The only problem is you just bring in a pitcher every inning and throw in 102 miles an hour, so the final score is always like 2-1. You can't hit these guys because they're coming in and throwing 15 pitches at 102 miles an hour. Good luck hitting them, no matter how good a hitter you are. So it's not even that much like baseball, other than the rules don't change, but the way the game is managed. Although, thanks to the Tampa Bay Rays and a few other teams, teams do that a lot anyway. They bring in a new pitcher every inning to throw 102 miles an hour.
Yeah, and then here we are. Baseball is down, and people are complaining.
You realize Blake Snell, first of all, is a free agent, hasn't been signed. He's the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. He won the American League Cy Young Award in 2020. So he's won 2 Cy Youngs in the last 4 years. He's never had a complete game.
That's crazy.
0 complete games. Isn't that crazy?
Maybe that's why he's won Cy Youngs.
True, I mean, he's well rested.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, maybe it's about knowing the limit. Like Brock Purdy, whatever. Bailey Zappi. I'm sorry, Brock. Bailey Zappi. If he only played one half of football every game, he might have something there. But unfortunately, there are 4 quarters. So, but anyways, that's going to do it for us here today. Tomorrow, we'll be back. We're going to give our picks for what's going to be a pretty wacky weekend because, again, we have so many backups going. And, maybe we'll talk some college football with Jim Behringer. We'll find out. But tune in tomorrow because we'll be here live and talking sports just like we do every week. So thank you, everyone. And we'll talk to you soon.